Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and today we're going to review. What we're looking at is a brother Innovis NS1150E, which is an embroidery machine. And here's a recurring problem we're having so often that I think people either don't hear me or they think maybe I'm really not sure what I'm talking about, or maybe I don't know what's going on. But I'll tell you what. If you want to misthread your sewing machine, these are the machines you can misthread it on. It's a simple operation. It's just a matter of giving it the old college try and not going through the threading procedure step by step. And I'm blue in the face. If I had a mirror here, I'd show it to you. I'm blue in the face, but I tell people, here's how you thread your machine. And they either say to me, I think I know how to thread the machine. I've been threading my machine, blah, blah, blah. And they just blow me off. But let me tell you, there's a couple things about these that you need to know. And that is, whenever the presser foot is up, it releases the thread. There is no tension when you lift the presser foot up. You should always thread your machine with the presser foot up, pull on the thread, and feel that it's constant with the same release, no pressure, and there's no jerk, jerk, jerk. Now, you'll get a jerk, jerk, jerk if you have a thread like a spool like this. This was sent with the machine, and of course, it's the one that's got the little grouchy edges on it where the thread will catch. And it was sent along with this tiny little spool stop, which a spool stop stops a spool, yes, but it also has to be big enough that the thread rolls off the end of the spool stop and doesn't touch the end of the spools. Now, in this one, you can get away with it with the small one because it'll work. But if it's got a large spool, you need a spool stop that's always bigger than the spool. The thread has to make contact with the spool stop, not the end of the spool. Almost always, it'll have a rough spot on it. This one's got a great big gouge where the thread is tucked in there. And the thread will grab it, it'll jerk it, game over. The bobbin case will spin out, the needle will hit it, and it's $100. Good Lord. Let's get this right, folks. Let's see, how many machines this week? It's only Wednesday. Already this week, already 5 machines this week. It's only Wednesday, and I fixed a lot of machines, but already this week, 5 machines because the machine wasn't threaded correctly, or it had a situation with the thread hanging up. The thread delivery system is critical, and it just seems like, oh, it's just the thread, blah, 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 you're done. No, you lift the presser foot up. You go through the threading procedure. You make sure it gets in behind the take-up lever. You can't see the take-up lever in there. It's back behind. Only way you know it's going to be in there is you lower the foot after you've threaded it, after you've completely done threaded it through the needle, if you want to, and you pull down on the thread. You pull down on it. And when it feels the resistance on there like someone has a hold of it and won't let go, that's the only way. And maybe not even then, but you know it's at least between the disc. Maybe you missed the take-up. It just falls in behind there. If you miss the take-up, it'll make a mess. It'll cause another train wreck. But threading these things is critical. And again, I tell people, the reason this machine is shaped like a bar of soap and there's nothing protruding is because they don't want to pay the claim for the damages and shipment when things are sticking out and they break off. When this thing ships with a piece of foam around it, nothing is breakable. It is absolutely unbreakable. This is closed. None of this, everything's protected. Because of that, the tension assembly is counter balanced inside here, and like this, instead of sticking out, it's cantilevered back in here, I meant to say, and the thread comes around behind there, and you can't see it happening. You don't know if it happened or not. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but unless you test it, you will not know. And also, this machine had with it the incorrect bobbin. It's critical that you use the right bobbin. I did a video on this last week. This bobbin fits inside of this bobbin, which means it's smaller than this bobbin, which means it's not going to sit full flush into the bobbin case like I illustrated last week. This one sits flush. It rotates evenly. The thread comes off evenly. This one's going to jump around like crazy. It's going to jump up and hop, and the thread's going to catch it. It's going to jam it. And this is not going to work. This will work in a Singer drop-in machine. That's what it's made for. It's a Singer drop-in. This is a Singer 15 class, and you can't use, of course, a metal one in there. It has to be plastic. So this is a 15 class Singer drop-in bobbin, but it's not the 66 class. This one will not work. So it's critical that you have the threading correct. You have the right thread. This is a good thread. This is a good thread, as long as it's not oversized. Make sure the threading, the spool stop is critical. When you pull on the thread, it has to pull evenly. It can't hang up. And when you put the spool stop on, sometimes they use the one that's too big, and the spool stop is actually touching the plastic around here, and then the thread will hang. It'll jerk it, make a mess. I may have to do a class on just, wait a minute, I did a whole video on just spool stops. Blue in the face. Folks, I got plenty of business. I want you to not tear your machines up. I want you to not do all this stuff so you can be successful sewing, but all you have to do is listen to these helpful hints, because trust me, every single one of them is critical. When people call me and they said they're doing this or doing that, I always give them the big three: thread, threading, or needle. Needle in right, needle not sharp, needle bent, needle this. Thread correctly, correct thread. You know, it's just so simple, but everybody overthinks it, and then there's a train wreck, and then my phone rings, and away we go. So when everything's working, it's just as smooth as it can be. Just a matter of threading it correctly. Now I had to take all the burrs off the end of the hook where the needle hit it. I had to take the burrs off the bobbin case where it had spun out, because these bobbin cases are plastic. And the only way they'd be more flimsy is if they're made out of maybe graham crackers or cotton candy. I don't know. But all this stuff is fragile. But you see, when everything's done properly, works like it's supposed to, no big deal. So thread it correctly, use the right thread, use the right spool stop. Don't tear your machine up, all right? Thanks.